From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up today on AgDay, just in time for Thanksgiving.
I can't say he's annoying. Too close to his holiday.
One mail carrier is getting a little help on his route. New concern USMCA won't get passed by the end of the year, and what that could mean for producers.
Because I didn't expect an incident like this to happen to us, I felt that everything was in place the way it should be.
And for the first time since one of the nation's largest dairies was hit by allegations of animal abuse, I talked one-on-one with an owner of Fair Oaks Farms.
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado and the all-new Silverado HD, the strongest, most advanced family of Silverados ever.
Good morning, I'm Betsy Gibbon in for Clinton Griffiths. It's been nearly 6 months since Fair Oaks Farms' reputation as one of the most recognizable dairies and agritourism destinations was derailed. That's after an animal activist group released undercover videos of select employees allegedly abusing animals, putting the whole industry on high alert. I sat down with Fair Oaks co-founder to see what the dairy is doing now in this exclusive interview. Fair Oaks Farms, a dairy and agritourism destination in Indiana, prides itself on opening up its operation, being transparent and educating the public.
It's where they can make the connection between a farmer and the food in their refrigerator.
Yet the farm's reputation was hindered in June when an animal activist group released undercover videos of several employees allegedly abusing cows, calves, and doing drugs. In an exclusive interview, co-founder and owner Mike McCloskey says he didn't think it would ever happen on their farm.
We had a breakdown in our system that unfortunately resulted in some very mistreatment of our animals, and they should have never been through that.
The videos turned into an investigation.
3 of them had been reported by their co-workers for animal cruelty, and all 3 were terminated before we even knew that there was any undercover video.
The Newton County, Indiana Sheriff's Department says 3 former employees were charged with animal cruelty. Only 1 was apprehended and detained.
Has law enforcement informed you about some of these suspects that have not been arrested yet?
You know, I really have not got involved in the investigation other than to, cooperate with them in anything they've asked for.
McCloskey says he's made harsh changes to fix what happened, including continuous employee training and installing new cameras in every place a cow and an employee would have any interaction.
I brought on a 3rd veterinarian who is 100% dedicated to animal welfare. And that individual then has, I think right now it's 6 employees under her that are observing all of this footage on an ongoing basis.
Those employees went through intense animal welfare training, even training on how to observe footage and protocols to report it.
And I can't assure you or anyone that there may not be another person who decides to maybe do the wrong thing, but I can assure you that we will detect it immediately in the systems that we have now.
The Animal Agriculture Alliance says animal activist tactics have ramped up over the last 3 to 5 years on farms, especially using undercover videos.
These campaigns are not a new tactic by any stretch of the imagination, but what we've seen them do with targeting large, well-respected household name brands has really upped the ante.
In an effort to be more transparent to the public, Fair Oaks Farms will soon open a robotic dairy center as it unveils robots in some of its parlors. McCloskey says it's not just a benefit for the cows.
And we need to look for ways to be more efficient with our labor.
But it helps eliminate the decades-long struggle of finding good, quality, and legal workforce, an issue still impacting all of agriculture. As this agritourism destination slides back to normalcy,
it's important that we open up our farms and allow people to see what we do.
Their goal stays the same: to educate, offer resources, and clarity.
We need to gain back that trust, and we're working every day to gain it back, and we're continuing to be open and sharing with everyone what we're doing to make sure that an incident like this never happens again.
We just showed you a little bit about the robotic milking operation now installed at Fair Oaks Farms. In my next report, airing later this week, we take a closer look at the system and what the owners hope to gain by installing it. That's later this week on AgDay. Chinese President Xi Jinping says his country wants to work for a trade deal with the U.S., but it's not afraid to fight back to protect its own interests. Xi Jinping telling a visiting U.S. business delegation in China that negotiators hold a positive attitude towards the trade talks. He reiterated China's stance that a deal requires mutual respect and equality. In a one-on-one meeting with former U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, Xi Jinping said the relationship between China and the U.S. was at a crossroads and faced some difficulties and challenges, saying, quote, China and the United States should step up communication on strategic concerns to avoid misjudgment and enhance mutual understanding, end quote. Charges have been filed against a former Monsanto employee accused of stealing trade secrets from his former employer. According to St. Louis Post-Dispatch, the man was first detained 2 years ago boarding a plane to Shanghai and Chicago with proprietary Monsanto software. Prosecutors are asking for him to be held in jail until his trial, saying he is a flight risk. He could face up to 10 years in prison if convicted. The Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman did not comment on the specifics of the individual case, but said, quote, we resolutely oppose the U.S. using this single case as a pretext for saying China has groups that organize and plan to steal intellectual property from the U.S., end quote. He said, however, that if there is a violation of the law and the case was handled according to the law, China had no objections. Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says there may not be time to vote this year on the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. Pelosi meeting last week with U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer, saying she was eager to get the agreement done, but that she won't agree to a deal without a strengthened enforcement provision. Pelosi also saying that even if the administration agrees to changes, the House may not have enough time to write and then vote on legislation before the end of the year. We asked two analysts what would happen if USMCA doesn't get approved by the end of the year, and if it does.
I think the path of least resistance is certainly going to be lower. It's going to be tough to be able to get people to step in and buy this market. With that being said, we've had a pretty rough go of late. A basis is trying to do all the work, but a producer who has locked in their basis, they don't want to see that scenario play out, because unfortunately what would happen in that particular situation is you'd probably see futures continue to slide, and if they continue to slide, basis is going to continue to try to do the work, and so if you've already locked your basis in on too many of your bushels, you could be in a little bit of a pickle there.
Well, first of all, USMCA should help the pork market, which should dramatically help pork exports in Mexico, and we've already seen some of that pick up, but being able to get that agreement to help there.
House Ways and Means Chairman Democrat Richard Neal is leaving open the possibility of a House vote before the end of the year, but added he did not know how long negotiations could continue before it became too late for floor action. It's a busy harvest time, not just for crops, but for trees, as meteorologist Mike Hoffman shows us in today's Crop Comments.
That's right, Betsy. We check out all aspects of farming on Ag Day, but here's something that often gets overlooked: the timber industry. Our Ag Day crew capturing this action near Brandon, Mississippi last week. We're told this timber company runs year-round. They'll take these trees to a mill where they'll be turned into paper. I'll have more on your forecast coming up in just a little while.
What needs to happen to get the USMCA deal over the finish line? We continue the discussion in today's analysis. And later we talk turkey, but this one won't be appearing on anyone's table this week.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
Monsanto has pleaded guilty to spraying a banned pesticide on its fields in Maui, Hawaii in 2014. The pesticide was methylparathion. That's the active ingredient in PenCap-M. The company admitting to using the pesticide on research crops and on corn seed at its facility. Monsanto, now owned by Bayer, is also agreeing to pay $10 million in an agreement over charges it unlawfully stored the pesticide. Prosecutors agreed not to prosecute Monsanto if it abides by the agreement, which requires the company comply with U.S. environmental laws. Bayer saying in a statement it didn't live up to its own standards or the applicable laws, adding it accepts full responsibility for its actions. A new survey of bankers suggests the economy continues growing in rural parts of 10 plains and western states. The latest Rural Main Street Index survey's overall index improved to 54.2 in November. That's up from October's 51.4. But the ongoing trade disputes are continuing to hurt the outlook for more growth. Wheat ended last week with a good run. With prices on rising speculation, China may be a better buyer of U.S. wheat. Here's where we're starting things out this week from the CME.
Wheat was the real winner today, much higher, almost by 9 cents. It's pushing to the upside of that 1 month channel that we're sitting in. Now we know that the market's been vulnerable because a lot of traders have moved to the sidelines, but all the fundamentals are actually bearish for wheat except for the technical numbers, and so maybe the technical traders are really pushing this market around a little bit, but look very strong today. Soybeans were steady. I think the weakening from that technical trend is has the market really in a very tight range. Now we did hit a 7-week low. The downtrend that started a month ago is still intact, and we see that the market continues to leak a little bit lower, but no movement on the trade deal is really the reason for this. That U.S. dollar index also adds to like the bearish cloud that's hanging over the soybeans right now. With it strengthening today, that really is putting some pressure on the grains across the board. Today in the livestock market, the live cattle was a little bit lower. There's worries of the USDA report coming out. Cattle on feed is going to be a little bit bearish. They're going to be watching those placement numbers. I think that beef prices are beginning to weaken a little bit, and we expect that this overbought market really could turn lower in a hurry.
Well, House leadership has cast some doubts on whether USMCA can get passed this year. Others are keeping open the possibility it could. Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan has more on what people in Washington are hearing in today's analysis.
Here now with Michael Nepveux of American Farm Bureau Federation. Michael, a year ago, we first saw USMCA, the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, come together. Yet here we are a year later, not much has changed.
Yeah, it's really frustrating at this point. So really, if nothing gets done before the end of the year, then I think the odds of getting a USMCA agreement decline dramatically. Going into next year, we're going to have the impeachment proceedings potentially taking up a lot of oxygen out of D.C. Additionally, it's an election year, so half the time people won't even be there. Everybody's going to be campaigning. So really, the end goal is get it done by the end of the year, which we are hearing pretty positive signs on it.
Yeah, it sounds like there is a momentum. So what needs to happen in order to push USMCA past that finish line in 2019?
Well, right now, a lot of the holdup is a little bit on the Democratic side. They still have concerns over labor enforcement and environmental enforcement, particularly with Mexico. But it sounds like they're getting pretty close to an agreement there. So we could even see it as much as end of this month.
So could we still see this deal changed? I mean, if we do have legitimate concerns about this USMCA and we see Congress respond, could we still see USMCA changed in the form that we noted it?
You could see some changes. I don't see dramatic changes from the agricultural perspective. I think a lot of that is not really a controversial issue. Additionally, any changes that are made still have to be approved by Mexico and Canada. So you really run the risk if you make it too dramatic of a change, then that could blow up an already precarious agreement.
If we don't have a deal in 2019, you're not very optimistic about 2020?
Anything can happen. It's Washington, D.C., but I'm not very optimistic. That's right.
All right, Michael, thank you so much for joining us and shedding some light on this topic. We appreciate it. We need to take a quick break, and then we'll have a check of weather right here on AgDay.
Join Andrew McCrae for Farming the Countryside, a farmer-focused podcast that is all about production agriculture. Farming the Countryside is available wherever you listen to your favorite podcast and is brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, the world's largest provider of crop inputs and services.
We're here now with meteorologist Mike Hoffman for weather. Mike, the last time that you had weather on the show, you talked about the drought monitor in the Southwest, and now it looks like they're getting some rain.
They have had some rain, and we have more coming this week, so kind of a double whammy of good news, I suppose. But you can see a lot of the rest of the country didn't see too much at all. Now you might be wondering about this. This was some very heavy rain that stayed just offshore of the Carolinas. But when you look across the majority of the country, there was not a lot of precipitation. But this is some good news. And there was probably more even in places where it's not showing it. These are estimates from radars, and the radars don't pick up things too well sometimes through the mountains. So there is some decent moisture in many parts of the Southwest. There was a little bit in the middle of the country, kind of the boot heel of Missouri, into a western Kentucky, northwestern Tennessee. Those areas did end up with 1 or 2 inches in some areas from this past Saturday through this past Friday. Now, taking a look at the root zone, it's still on the wet side from Montana, northeastern Wyoming, all the way into the Great Lakes. A few spots through the Mississippi Valley and into the southeast, believe it or not. Pretty dry conditions though, nation's capital into parts of the Northeast and most of the West showing those dry conditions. Hopefully the rain this past week and this coming week will alleviate some of that problem in the Four Corner region, because that's where the drought monitor really shows up with the majority of the problems as far as that goes. There are still some areas of severe and extreme drought in Texas. They've been diminishing a little bit, and we only have 2 spots left of severe drought in parts of Georgia there. So that area has been diminishing as well. Here's the jet stream, and you can see we're going to have a trough digging in out west, along with energy coming in out of the central Pacific, and that's going to produce a lot of moisture there through the middle and second half of the week. Ridge pops up then by the end of the week into the lower Great Lakes, and then everything kind of folds into a trough, and this is going to be digging into the east again as we head into next week. Temperatures this week though, I'm going above normal from Kansas to the southeast, except for Florida, most of Texas below normal for the west, mainly west of the Continental Divide, also below normal in the far northeast. Precipitation this week above normal, Great Lakes northeast, much of the southwest, below normal in the southeast. 30-day outlook for temperatures will go below normal for the far north central states, let's call it, above normal for the southeast, south, and southwest. Precipitation over the next 30 days, I'm going below normal to the north and west of the Great Lakes, otherwise above normal, Mississippi or east of the Mississippi Valley into the Appalachians and also many parts of the southwest. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. Heading to Seattle, Washington, first of all, cloudy with just a bit of rain, high temperature of 49. St. Louis, Missouri, mostly cloudy, rather mild, the afternoon high of 60. And finally, Jacksonville, Florida, a good deal of sunshine, kind of on the cool side for you folks, high around 68.
Why do some used tractors seem to sell for more than others?
Hey, stay tuned, folks. Coming up, we're going to talk about gold keys.
Let the proven performance of Prosaro fungicide maximize your grain quality, yield, and profit this season.
Some used tractors just seem to go for more money. Why? Well, as Machinery Pete tells us, it has something to do with gold.
Last Tuesday on a farm auction in Bedford, Indiana, this really sharp 2008 John Deere 8130 with 1,980 hours sold for $115,000. Now folks, I can tell you that's the highest auction price so far this year on an 8130. And if we pull back for perspective on that price, the current average auction price this year on an 8130 is $76,940. And the current average dealer advertised price on an 8130, well, that's $91,146. Now here's the thing on this tractor last week. It was a farm retirement sale for David Finn, for Finn Farms. And this was a Gold Key tractor. David bought it new, did the Gold Key tour with Deere back in 08. Now I gotta tell you, I've always been fascinated by Deere's Gold Key Tour program, and specifically what these tractors sell for years later, whether they sell at auction or private. And I gotta tell you, I'm sitting on 1 million auction price data points, and these tractors sell for more money. Now you might say, well, why is that? Well, I think that for potential buyers of these tractors years later, these Gold Key tractors, it says something about the seller, that they did that Gold Key tour. It speaks to an elevated level of pride of ownership, and you can extrapolate that over the care of that tractor for its life. And so again, bottom line, they just sell for more money. So my point here is, if you have a Gold Key tractor and you're looking to sell it, whether at auction or private, shout it from the top of your listing, Gold Key tractor. It's worth more money.
A strange case of stalking in Wisconsin, but the person being stalked doesn't seem to mind too much. This strange but true story next.
Got equipment to sell privately but tired of scams and hassles? Visit MachineryPete.com and click Sell Mine. MachineryPete.com, the simple and secure way to buy and sell equipment online.
A Wisconsin mail carrier is being stalked. This guy follows his truck around while he makes his appointed rounds every day. Just watch what's happening in Waukesha. Yep, that's a turkey chasing the mail truck. Jeff Burns says it all started over the summer, and even though Thanksgiving is on the way, the turkey shows no signs of stopping.
He did startle me one time last week when I was coming back to the truck. He kind of jumped up and flapped his wings, feathers, or whatever it is. Got real close to my face. I'll be honest, the beginning was get away from the truck, but now I'm not even speaking to him. Oh, it's Thanksgiving. I can't say he's annoying. Too close to his holiday.
Burns says he's been followed by dogs, rabbits, and birds, but never a turkey. The DNR says the truck's bright lights could be what's causing the bird to chase it. Well, that's all the time we have this morning. We're glad you tuned in. For all of us here at Ag Day, I'm Betsy Gibbon. Have a great day.